It amazes me that a council that has so much real estate knowledge, either they're associated with the real estate firm or they're realtors themselves or they manage real estate, would do something that's stupid. And it was stupid. I'm sorry. There's no other word for it. The fact that we don't even need that land for, 15, 17 years, tells me that it was rushed through. And it's not just council. How come the attorney didn't catch it? How come staff didn't catch it? Not just the council. But the council had an obligation because they're our bulwark. They're our representatives. Doesn't matter what anybody else does. It comes right down to it. You look to the council for the answers. They don't have them. They need to get them. They assumed. That's one thing I never do. I never did it when I was in business. I never did it when I was in theater. I never did it as a mother. Well, maybe as a mother. But I never did it in terms of financial management of my own trusts and incomes. You just don't. And you verify. You have to verify. And not only that, but they didn't even bother to apologize. They just assumed, and they were the first ones to pull packets. I couldn't believe that they were going to run again after that horrible thing. Number two, people said, you've paid too much. Well, that's just too bad. It'll be fine. One of the councilmen said, oh, well, we'll be fine. We need that. She said, oh, okay, we really need that. And then they rented it back for $1 a year. We own the dairy. How come we're not getting free milk? We should be getting free milk. We have a wonderful facility there, and we have a rodeo that needs a space. How come we don't move them onto that space? That's our property now. Let's take it. When does that 1-year contract run up? Does it run from January to January? Let's take it over. Let's have it. We've got buildings on there that we could use for 4-H shows, garden shows, whatever we want to use it for. The $50 million, or they say 42, $50 million plus, you still have the hazardous waste that you're going to have to clean up before you do anything major. So that's more money. But they arrogantly assumed. And then they wanted to blame everybody else. Well, it's their fault, it's their fault, it's their fault. I'm sorry. You just didn't do your job. But I would take over Zinke Dairy, and I would do it tomorrow, if I can. First, I have to find out what the rental contract is. But I would take that over, and then I go to Gilbert Days people, and I would say, here's a property. What do you think of it, and how much are you willing to pay for rental? And what can we do? Because obviously we're not going to support a special event anymore. But what can we do to facilitate this? Let's get it in use. Let's get it in practice. Let's get it so that we have people coming in and pay to go to the rodeo and make money and get free milk. I don't know that you can. It's particularly when they're costing the town, was it $250,000 for this election? When they had the opportunity to have a fall election and save the town a heck of a lot of money, and they didn't want to because the three biggies decided that they didn't want to give up 6 months of their term. That's a horrible thing to do to the people of Gilbert, especially in this time of stress. Everybody's under stress. But 6 months, they could have run for re-election. They probably would have gotten re-elected if they tried to emphasize, wow, we're saving you $250,000 because of this. We're moving to the fall. Won't you please re-elect us? They might have, except for the Zinke thing, gotten re-elected. And they still seem to think they are going to be because they have a good old boys club. I don't have a good old boys club. I think you have to be totally honest. I think that fiscal responsibility is paramount, as is transparency. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to look at the general well-being of the entire residents. How does it affect all of them? Not just a few people, but all. Because it's all of Gilbert that the council represents, not just a few special interest groups. If you're honest with the people, and actually if you ask someone a question, you have to actually listen to the answer. These people came before council one night, and there were several of them, and they spoke against, I don't remember what it was. And Les said something like, "You people are the most well-researched and intelligent people I ever met. Done your work well." And then he turned around and voted with the developer. That's insulting. "I really like what you said. You're absolutely right, and I'm going to give it to her." That is not right. If people ask you a question and you don't know the answer, say, "I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to that question. I will find out and I will get back to you." And then you do it in an appropriate span of time. You don't put it off and never bother to answer an email, which happens. Or you never bother to return a phone call, which happens. You know, it's just, you have to take the people and the people's money and treat it with respect. It's not the council's money. It's the town's money. It's the people's money. It's the people's trust that you have to build on if you want them to say, "Yes, we do want that extra swimming pool, and yes, we're willing to pay for it," whatever it is. But you have to be honest, and you have to be specific. You can't just say, "If you don't do this, we're going to do that. So do it, or else." "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go away from me. I don't want people like that around me." I will never assume. I will always verify. And I think that's a pledge that the council will have to make. And the very first thing I would do as a council member, well, one of the first things I would do as a council member is probably apologize to the residents of Gilbert and small business for any transgressions of the past that former council had made, and make a promise that that would never happen again on my watch. And maybe they would believe me. I would hope so, because it won't. It won't happen again. I love Gilbert. It's such a neat place to live, except I miss the cotton fields. But it's the people that make up this feeling of a small town. It's not the council. It's not the number of parks. It's the people. I have yet to meet an employee that doesn't smile when I come in to see them, or answer, or try to find an answer for me. These are the people that work behind the desks. Okay? I have yet to say good morning to someone on the street that I may not know. I have a tendency to do that. Or smile at someone and not get a smile back. That's Gilbert. That's what we want to maintain. But we have to be honest about it, and we have to have responsibility. We have to take the responsibility. If we're going to represent the people, we have to do it properly. There was a wonderful thing they wanted to do, which was the memorial signs for the police and fire people who served. It's a great idea. I watched the study sessions as well as the council meetings. At no time did they talk about what the cost was or how they were going to fund it. So I go to council and I say, "I'd like to commend, I think his name, I can't remember his name now, the commander, on his presentation, because it was a very good, succinct, to the point, this and this and this and this and this and this." And of course the council all said, "This is great," and then told them how to improve it. It was funny to watch, and believe me. And I said, "This is a wonderful opportunity for us to honor the people who've gone before. It's great, and I'm all for it. But never at any time have you talked about what the cost is or how you're going to fund it. We, the people in Gilbert, would like to be involved in this if you tell us how." And I ended with, "We want to do this properly, and properly is the only way you can do it." I think that was my closing statement. And that's the way you do council, is properly.